help me welcome Calmatic.
What up, y'all? What up?
Nice.
I can't see nobody's faces, but I love all y'all.
That was, I think, a really good entry point into kind of looking at how your style has evolved, and some of the things that you brought to Old Town Road. So I would love, we'll start by talking about Pasadena. You're from Los Angeles.
Yep.
And there's a real sense of place in that video. Can you talk about how you brought that to that video? And then also, that was you shooting, you and a camera and hanging out of a car. Can you talk a bit about that, your early days of filmmaking?
Yeah, Pasadena, that was with the group Overdose, and I grew up with some of the kids from Overdose, and I got closer to them through music. So when I started to make beats and started to rap, I would go to their house every day, make beats and rap, and then one day I got a camera, so I started filming them. And then one day we were like, yo, let's just go film a video. So obviously that song is called Pasadena, and it's talking about being on your way to Pasadena. So we just try to come up with a cool story on our way to Pasadena. But we had no money. We were broke. That girl's, the Jeep you see in the video, that's like our homegirl. We, paid her gas money to use the car. We had 4 nights to shoot the video, so we would just go out at sunset and then shoot all the way into sunrise. And we just have fun. So, I don't really know, how deep we want to go into the making of it, but it was just like a bunch of experiments, even the video and how it's kind of like that up-tempo, fast pace. I was, at the time, I was just browsing MySpace. And I remember going to Tyler, the Creator's MySpace page before he even made music, and he had a video where he was rapping an MF Doom song, and he had that whole little fast speed effect on it. So I Googled how to do that, and I figured it out. And so that was my motivation behind that. While I was editing the video, I was watching MTV Jams, and a Lady Gaga video was on, and it was a video where she had the big eyes. So I was like, I don't know how to do that. Let me figure it out. I went on YouTube, figured out how to do it, and then I added it to the video. So it was just a bunch of experimentation, and obviously working with that group, they were just up for any, ideas that I had, so it just made it that much easier.
And then that kind of, you picked up, you were shooting, you were your own DP, at that time, and then we kind of transitioned to collaborations with Anderson .Paak and Come Down, and now you're working with a cinematographer. Why that change, and how was that for you to kind of let go of shooting?
Yeah, just based off necessity, when I started doing videos, I had to edit, light, shoot, and budget produce all my videos. So as budgets start coming in and expectations got a little bit higher, I couldn't do everything. So I had to start reaching out and working with producers and working with DPs, people that were dedicated to cinematography the same way I was dedicated to directing. By chance, I did a video for Esperanza Spalding in New York, and we worked with a DP named Ryan Helfand. And, me and him, we clicked really cool. And, I started, working with him for all my videos. So from Come Down all the way to Old Town Road, he's been my DP. And it just, allows me to not have to focus on the look of the film and focus on directing and, performance.
Yeah, I would love you to talk more, too, about the look of Come Down and sort of the references to Ernie Barnes and the Sugar Shack and that sort of throwback to 70s style. Can you talk about how or why that was important to you?
Yeah, my, the way I, come up with my ideas is I literally, sometimes I just go on Tumblr or whatever, kind of image site there is, and I play the song, and I just scroll through a bunch of images, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes those images spark, ideas. But amongst those images, I feel like a lot of images that are just in my head from growing up, in LA, inspired me as well. So even the Ernie Barnes painting, I didn't know it was an Ernie Barnes painting. I just knew it was that picture that I used to see in my granny house, you know what I'm saying? So I knew it was the picture, the pictures where the dudes be playing basketball and they be all leaned out and, all that kind of stuff. Like, that was like the motivation behind it. And so when I played that song, that painting came into my mind, and I just literally sent the text to Anderson like, yo, look at this painting, let's make a video out of it. And so, the rest is history. So it's just taking my influences or my references and trying to bring them to life. Yeah.
So with that in mind, sort of where was the starting point, like with Fun, the Vince Staples video? Because that's really interesting, the way in which you utilize, like incorporate obviously your kind of interest in technology, and you're always on, and we'll get into the cultural aspect, but where did that kind of, that idea come from, the spark?
Man, so it's a long story how that video came about. So originally I was doing a video for Paramedic by SOB, I don't know, was it SOB RBE or whatever? Yeah, SOB RBE for the Black Panther soundtrack. And we went all the way to Oakland. We shot this video, and basically the concept of the video was to shoot a film through the perspective of surveillance. So instead of just using like a regular camera and just shooting a bunch of performance shots, each camera angle was like, a liquor store surveillance camera, a police body cam, Google Maps, we just thought about all the ways that, humans are surveyed in America, and we told the story through that. So we went out there to Oakland, we tried to shoot it, but, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have permits, we were like in the wrong neighborhoods at the wrong times, and, long story short, like we got shut down. So that video never came out, and so, back in LA, Vince hit us and was like, yo, do you have an idea for a video? And I was like, yeah, I have this idea. What if the whole video was through Google Maps? And so, us going through that, trial and error phase in Oakland allowed us to like work the kinks out and really perfect the technique and get it perfect. And, we had money and more time and permits to actually do it the right way. And so, we, collaborated with an amazing visual effects company, and we made it happen.
And with that video too, sort of that storytelling was the ending, or sort of this idea of kind of voyeurs, kind of into culture. Was that something that was always a part of that idea, or something you thought about as you like that you wanted to sort of say something beyond just utilizing the surveillance to that idea, the Google Earth video to tell the story?
Yeah, we thought about it. Me and Vince, we actually came up with that idea like the day before. Mm-hmm. We needed an ending, a proper ending, and we just kind of wanted to make a statement at the end. And I think, with technology, I think there's certain aspects of culture that are always there, whether it be like people outside the culture, visiting a culture, you know what I'm saying, and even visiting from a perspective or a standpoint of safety and not having to deal with the realness of being part of that culture. I feel like that's always there, but it changes with technology as far as how they do that. So I feel like, in 2020, in 2019, whether it be YouTube or social media or, Google Earth, you can actually, from the comfort of your bedroom, like, see what life is like on the other side. And so I just wanted to, show like the birth of like, someone from outside the culture, like, having their first like piece of influence.
So this sort of, cross cultures, American life is also really present in Old Town Road, and where you sort of really kind of look at, in a very entertaining way, and because the song does it, this juxtaposition of hip hop and country and these two lives, old Western, and what that land has become now. How do you feel that video, when you think about, it has over 300 million views. I mean, what was it, 366 million as of 5 minutes, 20 minutes ago, and has been seen by so many people. Do you think that that juxtaposition, that telling that story, helps sort of these different sort of facets of American culture come together? Do you think it generates a conversation that you hope to generate? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Old Town Road is we were, developing the treatment as it was happening in real time, and so even when I wrote the treatment, like when I wrote it, I was like, there's no way they're gonna let me do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somebody's gonna come in from the label and say, no, this is too specific. We can't talk about this. We can't have these two worlds clash. But they let me do it, and so I just ran with it. And so I think, I think the video also put the real story in perspective for a lot of people that didn't get it. A lot of people didn't understand what the story's about or why he wasn't allowed in the country world or whatever, what have you. So, just seeing seeing it play out in real life, it helped a lot of people understand it, I guess. But yeah, so that's how I feel about that.
Was, when you first sort of pitched that juxtaposition that was going to take kind of that song and literally visually kind of bring together kind of Western and South LA, what did Lil Nas X think of that?
He loved it. I mean, I think at first he, when we showed up to like the square dance scene and he saw all the white people in the Western outfits, like he thought it was gonna be bad. He thought we were, putting more emphasis on the country Western side than the hip hop side, but he didn't see it all, in one piece. But, once everything came through or came together, he realized the story and he, loved it. So I think throughout the whole process of shooting the video, no one really understood what was going on except me. Like there was a lot of like weird things. They were like, yo, why do we have like a 96 SS Impala in the video? Like, why do we, why is this girl doing this dance? Like, but luckily, the people involved, they trusted me with the culture and didn't question my decisions.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff too. Like when we were just talking about fun, and I think about like the Google Earth shots you kind of created. There seems to be a similarity between some of the shots of the neighborhood too in Old Town Road. Did shooting that? Do you sort of see how that maybe influenced some of what you did, or do you not really?
I mean, it is pretty cool that Vince Staples is in the video, Old Town Road, and it's kind of like a continuation of that video. But I think that's just, at first, Nas wanted to shoot it in Atlanta, but we couldn't shoot it there. So I just wanted it to I wanted it to feel as much like South Central as possible. So, that was the reasoning for, I mean, that's probably the similarities between, Fun and Old Town Road and those scenes. But yeah, it's just the aesthetic that I think is, super cool.
There's a lot to, I mean, the storytelling. I would love to hear you talk a bit more about sort of how you've evolved, like as you build out your stories and your narratives, how you think differently about creating character and also explaining to the musicians that you're working with the kind of this world of characters that you're building around their song.
Yeah, I mean, as an editor, and when I put together my videos, one of my pet peeves is like shooting the same scene over and over. There's a lot of standard music videos where they just, have 3 scenes and they just, shuffle them up throughout the whole video. So I like to make sure that every single scene is different and every, frame like moves the story along. So even from the beginning, from the Pasadena, like there's no scene that's the same. And I think it's just fun in the process of doing it. Like, we didn't know we didn't have a treatment for that video. We just went out and said, all right, what if we did this? Let's do this. Let's do this. All right, now we need an ending. And then that's the story. So I think, especially growing up, some of my favorite videos, they had story elements. They had those elements where they would, cut the video in the middle and then, have a little scene play out and then cut back into the music. And I try to do that as much as I can. So it's just like a culmination of all my influences and just wanting to tell certain stories that I feel like people, haven't heard or seen before.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of influences, what would you say, whether it's music video-wise or film-wise, which films or videos have influenced you the most?
I mean, it's a lot, man. I think I like to say that my 2 big influences are Spike Lee and Spike Jonze. 2 Spikes. But I mean, I'm just influenced by a lot of my peers as well. I'm heavily influenced by Tyler, the Creator. I'm heavily influenced by one of my friends is Steven Trailer, who's like one of the, up and coming artists in LA. There's just a bunch of people that influenced me to seek out, more techniques and more references so that I can, expand my palette, so to speak.
Yeah, and then, within that, and as you're kind of exploring technique, I know you've talked a bit about, because you used to make beats, and that has influenced how you edit.
I mean, I tell people all the time, like, or actually, I don't tell people all the time. I'm going to start telling people all the time that I'm not a director. I'm a rapper producer that happens to make music videos. I'm a rapper / producer that happens to make film. So everything I do is influenced by music. So then not just like a typical hip hop standard type of music, but it's a very specific like style of hip hop. It's like very J Dilla and MF Doom and like underground weird, unexplainable, like, funky, hip hop. And that's the way that I edit my videos. Like, I don't just cut on like the snare. I cut like a little bit after it, which is still on beat, but it's just like a certain rhythm that it gives you as you're watching it. So even within the edit, there is like a separate beat, within the edit. And that's just the way I approach filmmaking, like whether it be the timing of jokes or certain bits. It's just a feeling, and it's definitely influenced by that style of hip hop that I did.
And so now, I mean, as we're talking about sort of editing, filmmaking, story, you were heading into a feature film project. He's going to be directing House Party, the remake. Can you talk about what? Yeah, it's pretty cool. What appealed to you in that story? I mean, it's a very influential film. It's a film that a lot of people know about. It's some of the things what you can talk about that you're going to bring to that story.
Yeah, I mean, it's super cool. I mean, to be honest, like, it's not a remake. Like, everyone thinks it's like gonna be people with flat tops and like 80s clothes. Like, it's a whole new film. But what attracted me to the film the most was the writers, the guys from Atlanta, Steve and Swank. It's like their brains are just super crazy, and I don't know how they come up with the stuff they come up with. So it's going to be a fun film, and it's going to surprise a lot of people as far as like what the film is actually about. And it's super early. Like, we just started, meetings last week, so we'll probably get into that at the top of the year. But it's definitely something I'm looking forward to, accomplishing and even taking it further, afterwards with other projects that I'm working on, but I got to knock that one out first.
So we've been talking a lot, over this weekend, just about cultural change and about being bold, and are there things that, like, now that you have this success, you have so many eyes on your work, that you hope to do? Are there any kind of new ideas you hope to bring to the fore, or old ideas to bring back again, to revive?
Yeah, I think ultimately I just want to be more of an all-around artist. Like I said, I feel like I'm a musician that does film, but also, I do my own version of my own art, and not necessarily painting, but just with graphic design and fashion. I just feel like, people from my generation, we're lucky because we came up at a time where we, based on necessity, we had to do everything. We know how to make a website. We know how to, make a beat. We know how to film and edit photos and all those things. So I think, now is the perfect time to just trust my instincts and just go out and like put those things out into the world. So, whether it be starting a clothing line, having an art show where it's just like, my graphic design work, or writing a short story and, publishing a photo book, like, doing all those things and not being afraid or, have these sort of expectations on what they should be based on my other work, and just, be the most complete artist that I can be.
That's great. Yeah, that's definitely something we're seeing a lot more. Another thing we've been talking about, multidisciplinary artists, and like people really moving more between like art and film and music. And do you have, you said you work with your cinematographer, since Come Down. Do you also continue to work with others, sort of kind of have your, a crew, a team you've kept with you, creatively collaborating with?
Yeah, I think Ryan is Ryan Helfand, the DP. He's like a mainstay as far as like my music videos and commercials. I have a group of friends that, that are my best friends. They were my best men in my wedding, but they're also my best creative friends. And, we just, we have weekly meetups where we just talk about all of our ideas and we hold each other accountable and we just, try to create, to the, furthest extent that we could in the time we have together. So, hopefully, we're developing like somewhat of a creative collective that, we can start putting some pieces out through that collective. Yep.
Oh, so are you doing like with them? Are you doing other like film work, or you're doing like the art or music?
I mean, literally everything.
Everything?
There's mixtapes, there's posters, there's random art. I can't even explain it. It's just a lot.
Oh. What is this collective called?
It's called Swap Meet Records.
Oh, great, cool. So when can we look out for stuff from Swap Meet?
I mean, it's already out there, but it's kind of like random
You just gotta
underground
go around
now.
and find it. Cool. Cool. Well, thank you. I mean, I think that right now we are all like waiting to see what you bring to the film world. Like we've seen some really great sort of evolution, as I said, of like what you do with storytelling and what you've done with the camera work and the kinds of stories you want to tell. And before we close this conversation, is there anything else that you want to say just about? I know you've talked a lot, maybe you talk a lot, but about where you see kind of artists, where you see music videos going, because I feel like there was kind of a time when there was a bit of that time they weren't as influential, and I think the success of your video has really shown that there's still a real when the videos are great and strong, there's a real audience for them. Do you see that continuing, or do you think that was just? Man,
to be honest, I do feel like it was just the song in the video.
Yeah.
I feel like it was an anomaly, and I don't know. I feel weird about music videos. I feel like obviously they're cool, but I don't think they have the same impact as they used to have. I remember when Tyler, the Creator, put out why am I forgetting the name? It was the video when he ate the roach and he was Yonkers. That video changed people's lives, and I haven't seen a video that's changed lives in the last 5 years. But I think with that being said, I think the playing field is very even now, and we can all create on the same level. So I think if anything, we should take it, as creatives, no matter what level you're in, just do what you think is cool, because somebody out there is going to think it's cool as well. So I think now is the time to trust our instincts and trust our taste levels, and have confidence that what we're doing is dope. And even if no one watches it, at least you did, what you like. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to play the game, because to be honest, the game no longer exists. So, my advice or my, words of wisdom is just to, go with your gut and trust your style.
Thank you. Those are wise words, and I have to say, it's like we started with this. We had an opening conversation, similar kind of thing, where the artist, he said, I looked for what wasn't there, and I filled that gap. Did something completely unique, and that's exactly what you're saying as well. Yeah, really cool. Cool. Well, thank you, Calmatic,
no worries.
for coming
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
Are we doing a Q&A? Are we doing a Q&A? Oh, we're not.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the New Wave, and this is our last event in the warehouse. So we hope we will see you at our next Film Independent event. Have a good evening.
Thank you.